Oh, Oli Barrett, how young and naive of a child you are. Oli goes on this tangent about how he's showing you the real China. Of course, he's doing what all the shills always do and walk around in Shenzhen, which is not a real representation of what many places in China is like. But of course, this is because he's another foreigner that's very out of touch with the reality of China. He hasn't traveled to more of the poor places in China, seen what the real China is. But I want to keep on track here, okay, and in this video, because he talks about how other Chinese people that he has spoken to, again, in English, because he says his Chinese isn't good. But I will give you props anyways for studying Chinese, because I do know that you're trying at least. So I'm not going to kick you while you're down for that. I'm not going to pick on you much for that. But what I want to start by talking about is about how Chinese people are surprised about America. And that is a large misconception about America and the Western world. As for an example, I myself went to China and was there for twice as long as you, okay? And I had been to other countries, Japan, Vietnam, Thailand, many other countries, okay? And I thought it was convenient to be able to use WeChat to pay for everything. But see, here's the thing. Americans, and I'm sure it's probably the same in Britain, we don't use those apps not because we don't have access to them, but because we just don't use them. But since returning to America, I haven't used cash here in over a year. I use Apple Pay for everything, you know, everywhere, all the time. When I go to McDonald's, I use a McDonald's app, which has my credit card in it already, which automatically pays when I go through the drive-thru, and it saves me points, right? So that's something that is not something that's, you know, only in China. Have you ever heard of Venmo? You see, pretty much the same thing as WeChat. Venmo basically allows you to send money back and forth to people. In my opinion, it's even easier because you can literally just stand next to someone and give them a code and do it in 2 seconds, faster than scanning a QR code. It isn't that Americans don't have access to the technology, it's that Americans want more access to privacy. Many Americans aren't, you know, wanting this. They just want to have less of a record of where they go, what they do. And Americans just want that freedom. They just want that privacy. And most Americans find it easier to just pull out cash and pay. Okay? This isn't a difference of technology. This is a difference of preference. This is a difference of culture. Okay? Difference of culture, not technology. The next thing that you want to talk about is, of course, transportation. And this has been debunked and misunderstood a billion times. Okay? Chinese people come to America to see lots and lots of public transportation. They expect that, right? Because that's what they see in China. But let me say this. We had public transportation in America, in Chicago, in New York, 120 years ago, well before China ever did. Americans have had access to public transportation long before Chinese people. Difference is that Americans choose private transportation. They don't vote for it. They don't want to pay taxes for public transportation. More Americans would rather have a sports car or an SUV or a truck or a luxury car where they can control the air conditioning, where they can control the stereo, where they can go where they want, whenever they want, and gas up where they want. Americans prefer to have that privacy, that control, that freedom. I've traveled so much here in America within the last year in my car, it's insane. You could never travel that much in China. You could never go to the types of places in America that you know, like that in China. It's just not possible because the metro, the train just doesn't go to those places. And again, why would I want to give up my heated and cooled seats in my luxury car to sit on a train with a crying baby next to some guy that plays a loudspeaker on his phone and plays games and TikTok? Okay? It's another situation of Chinese people not knowing that freedom and not knowing just how priceless it is because they've never had it, right? And again, it's pointed out in many videos, Chinese people are just now getting cars, just now having them. But have you ever heard of Route 66? Americans have been traveling across the country in their cars for years. It's a car culture. We enjoy it here, okay? We love it. The other thing that he talks about is how people aren't just being thrown in jail in China for lack of freedoms, which I think is quite funny because, for one, you don't really know who goes to jail in China because, for one, crime statistics aren't really openly reported accurately by neighborhood to show people about where they should and should not be buying homes. Crime statistics in China are just not reported the same way. Don't think so? Go on a real estate website in China, open up a crime map. You won't find one because they don't exist. So the funny thing about it is that we say, well, Chinese people are not just being taken off the streets and thrown into jail. That's true. You know, you're exactly right, because that's not how police work in China. There's cameras everywhere. And police use those cameras to find out where you live, to get your information, and they go to your home and arrest you. They don't arrest you in public because they don't want to do that. Whereas if here in America, it's the opposite. You know, say some things wrong on the internet about the president, and I'm sure you as a foreigner will find out that they know where you live pretty quick. Police will come to your doorstep and they'll arrest you, okay? Just because you don't see it happening on the streets doesn't mean that people aren't getting arrested. The police are simply different. While here in America, police are actively policing out on the streets, going after gangbangers and drug dealers and gun traders. In China, it's different. They follow you at the camera, knock on your door. But you better believe that China does have problems. China does have drugs. China does have scammers. China does have thieves. China just deals with it in a different manner that is less obvious to the public and to people like you that don't speak Chinese and read Chinese media, okay? So you've got to stop acting as if Chinese people don't have freedoms, as if they have these freedoms when they don't, because they don't, okay? You keep wanting to change the narrative and say, it's not true, Chinese people have freedoms. As much as you want to say it, it will never become true until the government makes it true, okay? You're not going to fool everyone into it, okay, because people are smarter than that. And we know that this is for a fact, that there are external watchdogs that look at countries and evaluate the amount of freedom that they have. And China isn't near the top. China doesn't have a lot of freedom. There's no freedom of speech. There's no freedom of religion. There's no freedom of press in China. You know, it doesn't exist. And for you to say that China has freedom when it doesn't, it's embarrassing and shameful. And you should be ashamed of yourself for continuously lying about this just because it isn't true. And you know it is true, but you continue to push that agenda because you live in that country. But one day that will end. You will leave China or you will be kicked out because they will no longer need people like you. And one day you will see that I am right. Okay? Like, comment, subscribe, and have a good day.